Okay, everybody calm down, because I feel like I've already explained this before, but apparently you didn't hear me correctly, so we got to explain the purpose and the vision of StarLink all over again. But yeah, I love keeping you guys up to date with what SpaceX is working on in terms of their internet service, so let's talk about StarLink Premium. So yeah, let me just give you some of the facts first of all. Yesterday, SpaceX announced a new version of their Starlink subscription package, and it's not cheap, alright? Let's just get that out of the way. It's not meant to be affordable. This is mainly pitching towards offices and businesses, and it's not really being pitched as like a residential product. It's not something you're just supposed to plug in at your house or anything like that, but it comes with a much larger version of Dishy McFlatface. It's still the square design on the front, but it's twice the size of the traditional Starlink 2.0 that a lot of people have been unboxing across YouTube. I really wish I could get the 2.0 terminal just because it has removable cables, and mine does not, but now I feel special because I have a very rare round Dishy McFlatface that I don't think they're making anymore. Either way, this big one I'm sure also has the removable cables. It also appears to have a beefed up router. I skimmed around the website and looked for information. They don't seem to have any of the tech specs of this upgraded router, but assuming they did a lot of the same things that they implemented with Starlink 2.0, this router includes the PoE injector, okay? So you just have to plug in this box to one power cable, and that powers Dishy McFlatface on the roof, and that powers the router. So I hope that because this is Starlink Premium, that router has Wi-Fi 6, or at least improved range, and can handle more devices, and of course, could actually include an Ethernet port, because the new Starlink routers do not. You have to buy an additional accessory to actually get straight Ethernet hookup, which is kind of annoying. But this whole new package with the larger array that allows for faster speeds, SpaceX is saying up to 500 megabits per second, but if you've been watching Starlink reviews, you know that they often beat those advertised speeds, so I'm gonna guess it probably ends up being faster than 500. This is a $500 order deposit, and on top of that, the actual hardware to ship it out to you and everything is $2,500, okay? So this is expensive, and then after that, this is the real kicker. This is the hardest pill to swallow. After your first month, I assume that the first order covers that 30-day trial of coverage. It then costs $500 a month. Now, if any of you have landline internet or fiber optics out there, you're probably cringing and so confused right now because you're like, what the heck? I can get gigabit up and down for 80 bucks a month or 70 bucks a month, and I'm already sick of you. I'm recording this before the video goes live, obviously, and I'm already disgusted on how many of you have commented, where I live, I can get this speed for this much money. Yeah, you're not the target demographic, okay? It's possible that some products exist for people other than yourself. I get that. Absolutely. Starlink Premium is probably not for most of you. I bet 99.9% of you watching this video don't see any point or see any advantage into buying a $3,000 Starlink package that's going to cost you $6,000 a year and only give you around 500 megabits download. So I'm gonna have to repeat myself, even though I've mentioned this in previous videos. The main advantage of Starlink is there is literally no limit to where it can work. They're adding more satellites all the time. We should get some more deployments in the next couple months, and these next generation satellites they're putting up have laser sat communication tech, which means they can send your signal through space, which is actually faster than intercontinental undersea cable. So over time, yes, the speeds will get faster, and as more satellites are added, throughput can be improved, and they can afford to have more and more people on their network. So the main advantage here as to why I think this is a big deal, even if it's not a good deal necessarily, it's not a bargain per se. This is probably one of the most expensive internet packages I've seen people be able to actually order online. The difference is now you can get half a gigabit download anywhere on the planet, essentially. Starlink is already operational in over 25 countries. They've got over 145,000 users already. I'm one of those customers, but the idea that now they're offering a larger terminal that gets you faster speeds and can handle more throughput, plus this will work anywhere you can see the sky, that's the primary demographic here. People that don't have access to landline internet or fiber. Obviously, if you have access to those, Elon Musk himself has said numerous times, Starlink is not trying to compete with that. There is no effort for Starlink to kill off the point of fiber or even 5G home internet. That's always going to probably be more affordable and more practical for most people. This is going for more rural areas, places where fiber has not found its way there, either because it's too expensive or it's just a more remote place. Think more about like boats. Think about people on the seas or cruise ships or airplanes even are supposed to start adopting Starlink soon. They're already using satellite internet that kind of sucks. So the fact that there will be low Earth orbit satellites they can connect to with much faster speeds for everybody on board the plane, that's going to be immensely useful. Again, this is not a replacement to your fiber options. So I can't stand how many people reacted to this news and they were like, what? That's ridiculous. I can get it cheaper from fiber. Good for you. Keep enjoying that. But remember that not every area on the planet has access to landline internet or fiber. I would love it if there was fiber where I live, but there isn't. And the landline internet we have is not too great either. So that's why I'm a Starlink customer, and I know plenty of people that are out of reach of stable and reliable internet, and that's why they have Starlink orders. And to me, it's cool because now they're catering to more of a commercial market. Yes, it's going to cost more, and yes, it's not exactly a bargain, but if you're a business or if you're an office that's in a location that doesn't have access to fiber, either because you're in a more rural community or you're on an island somewhere that doesn't have access to super fast internet, this is going to be an absolute godsend, because before there was no amount of money you could actually pay to get access to half a gigabit download. Now there's finally a possibility for you to do that. It's going to cost you, but it's actually possible now. And of course, for offices and businesses, $500 a month for adequate internet where you don't have it at all is actually going to be pretty dang useful. The interesting part of this report that's probably going to be a harder pill to swallow for more Starlink fans out there is that they say, okay, you can order one today for $500 and first deliveries will begin in the second quarter of this year. So only a couple months to go before the first premium Starlink deliveries begin. And that's kind of a bummer if you consider how many people are still on the Starlink waiting list. People have put in their orders like over a year ago and they're still waiting for an update or a delivery so that they can actually use their service. My good friend Mike has been waiting on his reservation for a long time and he is still not expecting to get his Starlink until later this year. So the idea that now SpaceX has introduced a new model of Starlink dish and those orders are going to be prioritized first does kind of suck. From a business perspective, I kind of get it because most satellite internet companies go bankrupt. So SpaceX is obviously emphasizing really, really hard right now not to go bankrupt and to be as profitable as possible and collect as much revenue as possible. So prioritizing customers like businesses or commercial addresses or offices that are willing to pay, you know, $3,000 up front and they're willing to pay $500 a month, you're going to get a substantial higher return from those customers compared to everyday residential customers like myself only paying $100 a month. If you're trying to prioritize profitability, it makes sense to lean into the more higher price customers, but yeah, for everyone else, it definitely does suck. And as Starlink gets more stable and they have more recurring revenue and they can kind of predict the future in regards to how successful the finance of the company is going to be, that's when I would actually love to see SpaceX go in the opposite direction, you know, because originally the SpaceX CEO was saying that they kind of want Starlink speeds to be the same everywhere and they didn't really want to do separate tiered pricing, and I think that Starlink Premium is kind of going right against that plan and saying, no, we actually are willing to provide faster speeds for people who are willing to pay for it. I'm actually not entirely sure if having the larger dish allows for faster speeds or they're just unlocking faster speeds for those bigger dishes because obviously people who bought Starlink Premium are paying a premium. So it would be awesome to see SpaceX go in the opposite direction and start making like a Starlink Mini or Starlink Mobile, something that's even smaller than the default Starlink dish and a lot cheaper, maybe like $50 a month, and maybe the speeds aren't as great, but it would be super practical for third world countries that don't have reliable access to internet, or if it's going to be something you take with you on the go, right? Like a lot of people van lifing these days. If you just had a little satellite you could slap on the roof of your car, now you have decent internet coverage and it's not going to cost you too much. Doesn't matter if you're far away from a cell tower, doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the desert or the middle of the woods. As long as you've got line of sight of the sky, you basically can watch YouTube and stream Netflix and even post some content like I do over it. That I could see being fairly popular as well if we're willing to go in the higher price direction. Hopefully one day we can see them go down to the lower prices, but of course that's going to be when Starlink is a bit more mainstream, a bit more stable in regards to income. Most of the constellation is not complete yet, so we still have a long way to go in terms of internet internet stability and internet speeds. But I think the main reason so many people were getting all up in arms about the crazy pricing of StarLink Premium is because probably just the overall wording. The fact that they chose Premium, like, that sounds like a service that's being catered towards everyday people. Like, we have YouTube Premium, and that's just for, you know, everybody just watching YouTube. Whereas I think a better name probably would have been StarLink Enterprise, right? Because it's meant for businesses, plus it's like a perfect little Star Trek reference. Come on, that would have been perfect to go with the whole space theme of everything. I'm giving you these ideas for free, Elon. Come on, I'll work, you know, I could get some kind of StarLink Premium review package if you want to help me out here, because I'm not willing to pay $500 a month for Premium. But if you want someone to talk about their Premium ownership experience, I'm your guy. But I think just the word Premium made everyday people think, oh, if I want faster download speeds, I gotta pay $500 a month. I don't think that was the intention, especially if you read the website. It was just kind of poor branding on their part. Not to mention, there's a lot of people already who have Starlinks that are actually reporting speeds well over what SpaceX promised, which was around 100 to 200 megabits per second. I just did a speed test this morning and got around 260, 270 down, and I've found people online that have gotten over 400 megabits down. So I don't actually think you need the giant dish necessarily to get speeds that quick, but that's why I'm predicting once Starlink Premium deliveries begin, we'll probably start seeing some download speeds well over half a gigabit, and that's gonna be freaking impressive knowing you can get that basically anywhere on the globe. How do you guys feel about SpaceX catering to more businesses and offices of the world? Is this the right call financially, or do you think they should just prioritize the people who have already put in pre-orders? Feel free to let me know what you're thinking down below. This is your SpaceX sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.